Now I'd like to introduce our speaker for this evening. And Ken doesn't like long introductions. So I'm going to be very kind to him this evening, and I'm going to make it short and sweet. Ken King is a dear friend of mine, and he's helped me tremendously through the years. We're very fortunate to have one of the foremost naturalists in South Texas here tonight to share his wealth of knowledge about the native cacti of deep South Texas. So with that, let's welcome Ken King.
All right, well, my name is Ken King, and I have been interested in cacti since I was a small child. They just fascinated me, along with the carnivorous plants. You know how kids go through those stages? Well, the cacti were also something that really drew me in to the, plus other things. And anyway, so I started seriously studying cacti in 78, I guess. And with Del Winiger's big book that he had written. It was excellent. And you can find it in used bookstores now. Anyway, so this is something that this presentation tonight, this PowerPoint, Christina Mild and I, she was so good. We spent 3 days trying to put this together in some way that would thought would be acceptable. Yes, and anyway, thank you, Christina. This cover slide is one of our prickly pears with the Opuntia ingomanii. This slide was taken by, where is she? Stephanie Herwick, and the Opuntias, the prickly pears, it is taxonomically, it is a mess. It's confusing because they evolve while you're standing there looking at them. You go out in the field where they are, and every individual is different, whether it's the flower color or the stem color or shape, the spination, all of it. It's very different. Anyway, I've been trying to push people to appreciate the diversity. We have a population down here of prickly pear that grows out by Boca Chica and the Port of Brownsville area, in that area, that grows in the lower saltier areas. And it's unique because you can find 8 to 10 different flower colors in one small area, and they're all together. Anyway, this is one of the more unusual colors, and this is a pink one that Stephanie found. I've been trying to get people to go out and look at that. You know, everybody wants to run off to the hill country to look at the wildflowers. You know, I want to see bluebonnets. It's like, you've got this here where it's so interesting. And I've gotten very few people to appreciate this, and Stephanie took off and went on her own because I'd been trying to convince other people to do this. Jan Miller and I have spent a lot of time out collecting the different types of colors of flowers of these prickly pears. Anyway, I'm supposed to push a button. There it is. Okay. Now, this is another one of Stephanie's slides. But yellow is the color that is most commonly seen amongst the prickly pear. This is beautiful. And a flat pad on a prickly pear is not a leaf, that's a stem. And that stem is called a what? Who knows the special term for a prickly pear stem? It's what? Cladoed, yes. I've heard phylloclade too. Or, no, that's a different thing. But anyway, yes, a cladoed. And the leaves, the prickly pears or cactus do have leaves, but they're small and they don't last very long. Once that pad ages, they'll fall off. But anyway, this is the most common color. There's an individual, like I said, they're all so different, and it's so interesting to go down there and see them. But anyway, this is a beautiful specimen we found. I think I was with Jan when we found this one. And there's a low one that's a beautiful pink, and the taxonomy of this, some sources that I find have taken this out of Engelmannii and separated it into another species, and they call it Opuntia glomii, or not glomi, gomii. And so it remains to be seen where it's going to end up. Camille Rich took this photo on her ranch, and this is obviously an orange, but the sun is shining through the petals. I thought this was very attractive. And you can see cactus in general. What makes a cactus? It has areoles, and this is a really good example of seeing the areoles. These are areoles, and these are points where the spines come out. And prickly pears are different from the rest of the cacti, and that they have not only longer spines, but they've got these small spines in here called glochids. And that's one wherever you touch a prickly pear and you get these tiny little spines in you and you can't see them and they irritate the heck out of you. That's a glochid, Glochid. Anyway, so I like this a lot. This is another one of Stephanie's slides of, you see almost a bicolor in these petals. And these are all together. This one was more of a violet color that I found. And I brought as many different color variations as I could into cultivation on a property that I have that's called Indigo Habitat. Some of you are familiar with hearing me talk about it. And I planted them in an area that we had to put up a large area of hog fencing around it as an exclosure to keep the javelinas from coming in, because the javelinas love to eat this. This red, this is beautiful. This is the clone of the red that's over here in all these bags. I picked 28 pads and laboriously made these bags and stapled and all so you wouldn't get injured if you wanted to take one of these homes. These make beautiful accent plants if you put them out. And the hardest thing with prickly pears is maintenance because of the grasses and weeds that grow in the middle of them. But a lot of us here don't like to hear this, but I'm telling you, use glyphosate. Prickly pears are resistant to glyphosate, and you can kill all that stuff around the prickly pear and not hurt it, and then that leaves it open. You leave all that stuff that grows up and in there, and the plant becomes susceptible to fungal infections, and it doesn't do well. Plant them in the full sun. Don't put them underneath something. Plant them in the full sun, and they'll do well. This is the one, I've told you this story before, but I had the privilege, we had them growing over at Frontera, a big specimen. It was beautiful. When Jimmy and Rosalind Carter came to visit Frontera, I led them on a walk, and when we came back, I took Rosalind, I said, Miss Carter, come with me, I wanted to show you something. And I took her back to the back, and there was this big, mature, red-flowered prickly pear like this, and it was in full bloom. And she just looked at it, and she just gasped, and she said, Oh, I've never seen a red prickly pear. so, so I just love that, and I wanted to, and I never got around to it. Now it's too late, but I wanted to send her one to Georgia so she could grow it there. But anyway, we all know about cochineal because Camille told us about it at her excellent presentation. And she even brought the specimens of the insects here. But prickly pears get infested with this. This is cochineal, this white stuff. And if you rub this stuff away, you'll find a little insect inside, and it's got a real soft, squishy body. It's a scale or mealybug type of an insect. And it's a dark purplish in color, and when you pop it, it looks like beet juice all over your fingers. And cochineal is a source for the red dye that they've used for the cardinals. We've a lot about the Pope in the news lately, and all the cardinal robes and things. That red comes from cochineal. Can you imagine harvesting these things to make that dye? And the red coats in the Revolutionary War, all those red coats were made with cochineal dye. And so this is a big industry, or was, and it's coming back now because people are more and more interested in natural dyes. And you harvest these things, dry them out, grind them up, and then you can use them. We have another species of prickly pear that grows in the sandier areas. This one is growing in the sand sheet north of us, probably around San Isidro. And see how the middle part of the flower is red and all. And it doesn't grow very tall. It crawls along the ground. And consequently, the common name of low-growing prickly pear. This is Opuntia macrorhiza, which means big root. But I've dug these things up, and I don't see any sign of anything that would make me think it has a big root. But I don't know. It may be that I don't even know it's misidentified on my part. I don't know. It also occurs on the island. This looks a little bit different, but you can see how it's low and it crawls across the sand. This one's not as dark red in the center. There's a lot of variability again in opuntias. The dog choy is the Grussonia. This is also in with the groups of opuntias. And since it's got cylindrical stems, they decided to put it in a different genus, and it's Grossonia. Next week they'll change it. But this makes a mat, and it can cover huge areas of the ground. Dr. Richardson, Al, and I went out past Pinitas and found this growing in an area as big as this room, and it was just solid. And the Border Patrol was all out there wanting to know what we were doing, and I thought, well, who in the heck is going to be walking through this stuff, you know? But these joints are very fragile, and those spines, I'll show you here. This is what they look like. Those spines, yeah, walk through that, you know, yes, you know, I don't know why we need Border Patrol, but anyway, these spines have a sheath on them, and that sheath is covered in microscopic recurved barbs, like a porcupine quill. I know you all have go outside to see porcupines all the time here, and if you get stuck by these, well, you can't just pull them out like you do any other thorn, it takes skin with it, and you're gritting your teeth and might even say, damn, I don't know. But this functions for asexual reproduction in this plant. This is a dispersal mechanism. A coyote or whatever will walk through here, a horse, a human, and these things will stick onto their feet or clothing, shoes, whatever, their fur. And then once they go off in a different area far enough, well, then they stop and they can pull it out, and wherever it lies, well, it'll grow another plant. This area was covered in the, like I told you, out in Canitas. Dr. Richardson and I were out there. They rarely flower because they reproduce asexually so well. And so we found that one flower way out in the middle. And Al's the one that took the pictures. And I had a sharpshooter shovel, and I said, well, just wait here, Al. I'm always having to look out for him because I don't want anything to happen to him. And I'm taking and scraping a pathway about 2 foot wide, all the way through to the middle where this flower is. And I said, okay, well, be careful and walk through this. And I've got him by the belt. So he's ahead of me with his camera, and I'm holding his belt so he doesn't fall in the middle of all that. But anyway, we got this flower that way. I was not that time. But I have had them stuck in your, when you get them stuck in your shoes and you walk and you hit the side of your leg, you don't know what's in your shoe. Well, then it gets stuck into your calf, and then sometimes you'll say, damn. Another round-stemmed opuntia is a relative of the prickly pear, is Opuntia leptocaulus. And most of us are familiar with Tasajillo, and sometimes the Anglos especially call it desert Christmas cactus. And fruits here are bright red, but you see this individual doesn't have much in the way of long spines, but it's just as variable as the other opuntias. Some individuals will have really long spines. And this one is flowering. You can see the long spines on this. These stems are fragile, just like on the dog cholla that crawls along the ground. You touch these and it's going to break off and go with you. The flowers on this are green and interesting. This is something that just, it fascinates me. We've got the red fruits, but look what's growing out of the fruits. Stems are coming out of the fruits. And how many fruits do we know that have stems growing out of them? I can't think of a single one otherwise. And not only will they have stems growing out of the fruits, they'll have fruits growing out of the fruits, then stems. And so it's just fascinating. And all those things fall off and they root wherever they touch the ground. Billy Snyder gave me some wonderful specimens of Tasajillo that I planted at indigo habitat. For some reason, the javelinas haven't bothered those. Now, you see, sometimes it's rare, but sometimes you'll get a yellow or an orange fruited individual, and Cat Trailer has a population of this, or one individual at least, on her ranch at San Isidro with these yellow to orange fruits. And she was very generous in sharing cuttings so we could spread it around. This is why they call it a desert Christmas cactus, because when it is doing well, it really puts on a show. Where are you going? Oh, okay. Ah, all right. I'm watching you. Echinocerius poceldrii. I learned this 100 years ago as Wilcoxia, and now we calling it Echinocerius. And one of the common names is dahlia cactus, because if you dig this plant up, it'll have tuberous roots that look like, all of you are familiar with dahlias, right? They have tubers that look like dahlia tubers on their roots. And Sakacil is one of the local common names. Pencil cactus is another one, but you know how common names are. You've got 20 different things called the same thing. This is a beautiful specimen that Ernesto Herrera has at his house, and he sent this photo out, and it's just gorgeous. He has it growing in an urn up here. I forget this has a pointer, but I don't know. Oh well. An urn up there, and it's hanging down and just covered with flowers. This is extremely easy to grow from cuttings. You just cut those ends of those stems off, let them dry for a couple of days, stick them in a pot of your favorite cactus mix, and they'll root very easily. And then that where you've cut the stem, well, it'll branch out with several others. This is one that I found, I think I was with Joey Santor, and we were in the field, and this, you never see them growing out in the open. And they're so well camouflaged, you can imagine how that would look growing in the middle of brush. When it's not flowering, it's invisible. It just looks like dead sticks. And but this one was out in the open, so I thought, well, this would be a nice way to show this is a very healthy plant, and how it normally looks when it's not in flower. Some of the ladyfinger cactus, the alicoches that crawl along the ground, we have several species. This one is Echinocereus penelophus, and it has a yellow throat, and it's extremely variable. Again, the variability in the cacti. The eastern populations have short stems in a tight cluster. You can see them on the lomas, and flowers are the same. And this is an example of one of the ones in the east. You see how tight this colony is, and the stems are short. And this is the same species. It's harder to see the yellow throat, but it's in there. The flower hasn't opened completely on this specimen. Now, look at the difference with this one. And this is Joey's photo. Thank you for giving me permission to use your photo, Joey. Yes. Look how the difference in the growth form. It snakes along the ground, and it goes everywhere. And if you cut the stem cross-section, it's more square. And back when I was first learning these, the two different forms were different species. And now they've lumped them, and they said, no, it's just Penelophus that's extremely variable. Now we have another alicoche that grows in deeper shade. It doesn't like the sun at all, but it grows in deeper shade. It's Echinocereus berlandii. And the difference, obviously, is the throat. With one of the common names, dark-throated ladyfinger or dark-throated alicoche. And I don't see any individuals here. But not only are the flower colors different, but the stems are fatter. They're not square in cross-section. They're more tuberculate. They've got, you can't see here, I'll show you on another slide, but they've got tubercles. There's a close-up of the flowers. They are beautiful. These are all wonderful if you plant these in container gardens, large container gardens, and you get to enjoy these when it's their time. They bloom in the early spring, well, actually later. The Penelophus blooms before the berlandii. Here you go. Look at you see, this is a good little tubercle here on the stems. and the stems are a darker color, maybe because it grows in more shade. And also they grow from underground rhizomes that go out and pop up way away from the mother plant. And none of the other ladyfingers do that. I've even grown them in pots, and the rhizomes will come out the drainage hole in the bottom. And no other Echinocereus does that I know of. But anyway, these are very localized. I've only seen them as far west in the valley. They're in the eastern part of the valley. I've only seen them as far west as the far settling basin. And there are reports in the literature of them growing in other places, but I suspect those are misidentified individuals, because I don't want to go into all the taxonomy of these things, but this has been knocked around and messed with and back and forth, and it's crazy. And this specimen, it grew on is growing on Cat Trailers Ranch in San Isidro. And this is Echinocereus papillosus, and I'm still calling it variety Angusticeps. Angusticeps refers to the narrow stems, or the small stems, and has a yellow flower with a red throat. And it grows in the deep sand areas, and it's deep sand, not just any sand, but it has to be that dark red sand that's in that San Isidro area with a limestone underlying layer. They have not, this was when it was first described, it wasn't described as a variety of papillosus. It was described as a separate species, just Echinocereus Angusticeps by Elsata Clover way back. And but then they've since not even recognized it as a variety. And this is another individual of the Angusticeps. But here, no, that's not the one. But this is the fruit. This is on Camille Rich's ranch, but this fruit is green. These spines will fall off of a fruit when they get ripe, so they can hopefully get eaten and dispersed. And you can see the seeds in between the cracks here in this fruit. There's the other variety here. Look how much larger those stems are. And there's fewer of them. And unfortunately, this was on Betty Pettis's ranch. And unfortunately, we were there probably the day before, or maybe a few hours early before the flowers open. Flowers look the same, and they bloom about the same time, but these don't grow on the deep red sands. These grow on more heavier clay soil. And so they're, as far as I'm concerned, they're distinct enough to at least be recognized as a variety. But they didn't ask me. Echinocereus eniacanthus, the strawberry pitaya. You see this in the western part of Hidalgo County and Starr County. And it's variable in its spination like all the others. You can see some with heavy spines and others with others that look naked. Here's another individual to show you the flowers. And the flowers are, they're not light-throated, but you have to look at the stems, and the stems are huge, and they're very easy to tell apart from the papillosus. The papillosus is also tubercle-stemmed. Echinocereus fitchii. This used to be, and it's in our book as a variety of Reichenbachii, but it's been elevated to its own species status. Fitch's rainbow. This is out in Starr County, maybe, I forget if it's in western Hidalgo or not. What? What are you doing? You're what? Oh, it's not on there. It's like, there you go. Okay, good. Yeah. anyway, these are really interesting because the spine colors can be white, they can be reddish brown, they can be almost black. And then they have lumped the endangered black spined cactus that we've got up at around the Corpus area. They've lumped it with Echinocereus fitchii. Well, fitchii is not biologically endangered, but since they call them the same species now, well, that creates a problem. Are we going to call Fitch's rainbow endangered now that the black lace cactus is lumped in with it? Don't know. Mammillaria hateri, a lot of us know about this. This is pretty common. I don't have a picture of it with fruits, but you can see a little fruit that's fallen off here. I think this was taken at Camille's Ranch. There's another clustered specimen. Once they get some size to them, they will pup out and make a nice cluster. Mammillaria spherica, I learned is Dolichothele way back 40 years ago. But now they're calling it Mammillaria spherica. It's our only yellow-flowered mammillaria we have in our area. And the flowers don't bloom in a ring like hater. A lot of the mammillarias will bloom in a ring. Dolichotheles don't, or Mammillaria spherica doesn't. And there's several others that were in that genus in Mexico. But anyway, they put them all in mammillaria now. This one grows on the lomas. It's abundant on the lomas. You can find it in Starr County on tops of the gravel hills underneath the blackbrush. So it's got a very broad range, and it goes farther north. Yes, Joey? Yes. Yes, I've seen I've helped you collect some of those that were above on top of the ground after the pigs dig them up. Yes, it's a green fruit and it's fleshy, and it's hard to tell apart from the tubercles because it's hidden in between those long tubercles. And but yeah, and they do. I forgot to mention that fleshy root because that's a big character for this thing. And somebody in here, and somebody knows, sent me a photo of a colony here that is enormous. I've never seen, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of heads of this Mammillaria spherica in this image. And it's growing in cultivation in somebody's garden. Did anybody know? Did you send it? Do you know where it was, or? Huh. Okay. Well, it was giant. I've never seen anything close to that. They can make nice mounds, maybe a couple of feet across if you find a really exceptional one, but this is just way beyond. A little mammillaria that we have that's in the mostly in the eastern part of the valley underneath the mesquites and things and other brush is the Mammillaria prolifera. It used to be multiceps, but anyway, it's a hair-covered cactus. And you can see in between the larger spines, it's a little out of focus, but you can see hairs in between here. And notice the difference in the spine colors of these two individuals. And I found a good example where they were growing side by side, where it'd be nice, easy to compare. These grow very easily in cultivation. Take one of those little heads and pot it, and it'll fill that pot up in maybe a year. This is a big colony here. And look at this is some of the the potential of this. There are just thousands of stems in that. And this is at Ramsey Park. And I think, does this still exist, or did the pigs get it? Javelinas? Yeah. But it would be possible to recreate if you could find some individuals and just plant some in a large area, and they would eventually fill it all in. Some people that like to grow them in container gardens like to choose this species to grow in. How many people know what a strawberry jar is? Okay, they've got the little pockets on the side. Well, they like to stick these in those pockets, and they just fill it up, and it's attractive if you like that sort of thing. And this one looks very similar to it. This grows in the western part of the valley. Now, the prolifera grows in the eastern part of the valley, unless you go farther north. And then you can find it in the northern part of Starr County. But in the western Hidalgo and in Starr County, you see this underneath all the black brush and on those gravelly hills where the fossilized oysters are and that sort of thing. And I got this example again with two different spine colors. But you talk about being kicked around of different names. Since I've known about it, it must have gone through 6 or 7 different changes. And I had to, learn them all as they come along. But this is the worst one, Escobaria emscoteriana. I like Escobaria, and it's been to different genera also. But I like the Escobaria part. But emscoteriana, that's a mouthful. Runyon's pincushion, and they call it Runyon's because at one time the epithet was Runyoni, and then the genus changed, and then the epithet was Roberti because they wanted to keep it honoring Robert Runyon, and they couldn't use Runyoni again, so I don't know, it's a mess. There's another individual. This is an all-white spined one. Coryphantha macromeris variety Runyoni. We left a comma, Christina. Coryphantha macromeris variety Runyonii. This grows in Starr County, and it makes big mounds. And macromeris also occurs out in the Trans-Pecos, but it doesn't make these big mounds. It makes anyway, it doesn't do that. And the plant habit is very different. See, here's a mound. This is a short tubercled mound. Sometimes the tubercle lengths are variable. Rosie's asleep. I know. Anyway, and see this is a normal individual, and you see how much longer the tubercles are than that other one. But this one over here is very different. This is an extreme form. They may even refer to this as being a monstrose. And I don't know if any of y'all know the Sunderlands, had Sunderland's cactus. I know Christy Davis does. But on Alamo Road, they had a cactus nursery for over 50 years. Viola Sunderland found this in the wild in Starr County. There was only one individual, never knew any more. And so they were marketing this. They were propagating it and marketing it through their nursery. And then they named it Mammillaria Sunderlandi, or Coryphantha Sunderlandi, I'm sorry. And just to help advertise their nursery. But I still have a couple of these, and some of you may have some as well. The Thelocactus bicolor, the glory of Texas, or Texas pride is another common name. They should think of a better common name. But anyway, this blooms it's beautiful flowers. And you see a lot of these in Starr County. And if you go up to the Cross Hill right before you get into Rio Grande City, you'll see them there, and you'll see them on all the hills around the area. They bloom off and on. You can find them in bloom most months of the year if we've had decent conditions. And they're easy to grow. They're easy to grow from seed. And, and our Astrophytum asterius, I'm calling it here sea urchin cactus. Sand dollar is the other the common name that I grew up knowing this by. And then all of a sudden, when the feds got a hold of it, they said, oh, we've got Astro and Aster, and it grows in Starr County, so let's call it Star Cactus. Well, there's another Astrophytum that grows in Mexico that they weren't aware of, Astrophytum ornatum, and that's the one that's always been known forever with the common name of Star Cactus. And so, but they're going to stay with that. But anyway, it's just a common name, it doesn't matter. But these, you can see the areoles really well here. See, these are areoles, and remember we said the areoles are characteristic of a cactus. No spines. I don't know, Joey, did they say yes or no yet? Are there any alkaloids in this thing to protect it from herbivory? Yeah. Rabbits eat the tops of these out. And this is very different from other cactus because a rabbit will come along and it'll eat this whole top here out. And it'll be scooped out. And most plants, when you lose your apical meristem right here, will pup from the sides, from areoles on the side, but not Astrophytum asterius. The ring, the vascular ring in the center, the pups come out of that vascular ring. And I've never seen that before in any other cactus. Here's what the bloom looks like. It has a beautiful bloom, big yellow flower with a red throat. The seeds, these are the seeds. There's an empty fruit. They produce a lot of seed. And the seeds, I don't know if you can see, there's one. It's got a hole in the middle. And supposedly that's an adaptation for dispersal because if it rains, those seeds will float on the water like a little boat and go away from the plant and come up. These are very easy to grow from seed. They are federally endangered. They only grow in a few areas in Starr County and then farther south in Mexico. They're also, I think, in trouble there, but you know, anyway, this is one of my favorites. Peyote looks so very similar to the Astrophytum asterius, except you see the flower is pink instead of yellow with a red throat. The skin is a little off, and the areoles have these tufts of wool or hair or whatever that comes out, and that's lopho means tufted, and so that's where it got the name for the genus. This is peyote, Lophophora williamsii. And here's a photo in habitat. This was photographed on Mary Pena's ranch, and I like this a lot because it's, I don't know, it's good habitat photo. That other one looked like it was in cultivation. Horse cripplers, one of my very favorite cactus too. I love horse cripplers. It went forever as an echinocactus. Now it's Homalocephala, which it was Homalocephala 60 years ago, and now they brought it back. And so anyway, these are tough. They're easy to grow if you want to grow cactus that's a tough one. This is a good one to start with. They've got these giant red fruits. Did I see some horse crippler fruits here somewhere? Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. From the giant clone, yes. Okay. Um, and the seeds are very large. And this is the one that I always recommend to people. If you want to start experimenting with growing cactus from seed, start with the horse crippler because their seeds are big, they're easy to harvest, you don't have to do a lot of cleaning on them, and they come up easily, and they're tough. Hard to kill them. And this is characteristic of their flowers. See how the petals are fringed? And just very attractive. I have a drawing of one that Al Richardson gave me, and it bothers me badly because the plant is drawn beautifully, but somebody modified the flowers where they put smooth edges on the petals. And so now every time I look at it, it just, I don't know, it bothers me. I should get rid of it. Ancistrocactus shearii is one of the fish hooks. There's 100 fish hook cactus. But this is one that grows in Starr County, western Hidalgo County. One of the common names is root cactus because it has a large fleshy root, and it blooms earlier than most of our cactus. It's one of the first to bloom. And there's a Catarina Miranda. We used your slide for this. This is beautiful. And there's a close-up of the flower. It's greenish color. And again, it's one of the first to bloom in this early spring. And here we are with fruits. And we've got Joey in here. Here he is, showing us the roots. You see, this is one of the reasons why it's called a root cactus. These are not as easy to grow as a lot of cactus, so one of the more difficult ones, but it can be done. The twisted rib, the Hematocactus setaspinus, this has gone through 18 name changes also since I've been studying these things. This is a very common little miniature barrel type cactus, and it's been heavily targeted by the javelinas. Joey's finding areas where they've just lying on top of the ground everywhere, and they have small red fruits here. That's important later for when we look at the other one that's closely related to it to see. Oh, good. This is another one that if you want to start growing cactus from seed, this is a good one to start with. The seedlings grow fast. The plants grow fast. They don't live very long for a cactus compared to some of the others, like a horse crippler, but they reproduce quickly. And so this is showing you why it's called the twisted rib. It's not because so much of the torque at the top, but it's because the ribs wave back and forth. It's extremely variable. You get the smaller ones, you get a smaller stem size in the some areas, and then when you go up around the San Isidro area in that sand, they're giant. This is also, this is the central spine, and you see it's another fishhook spine. But this central spine is narrow right here, and that's important also for the next one. Here we go. These are in cultivation. I'm sorry, we needed a better one, but this is Hematocactus hematocanthus subspecies sinuatus, and this is our Rio Grande barrel. This is our largest of the barrel type cactus. It gets pretty good size. I've seen some about this tall. And so their central spine, I'm trying to see, their central spines here are, maybe I'll get a better one in the next shot, are flat. There it is. This one. They're flatter than the setaspinus. And yeah. And then the flower color, you see there's no red throat in that flower. But otherwise, they kind of look similar. And the fruits are not red, they're green. And they're larger. And you can, let's see, where's a good, this was a good wide central spine right here that's got a hook on it. There you go. That's a good one there. And so that's another character that you can use. If you find small Rio Grande barrels and you've got twisted ribs next to it, well, you can tell them apart by looking at those centrals. One of the ways. There's others, but we have at least 3 that I'm putting in the slide program of these serious type cactus that grow it, that bloom at night. And they all are referred to at some point as a night blooming cereus. But this is Acanthocereus tetragonus. Barbed wire cactus is another one of its common names. I like this slide because it shows the growth habit. This will freeze off if we have a cold winter. Last winter, I had mine burned down to the ground, but they come back from the base, from underground. And this is showing you the flower and the fruit. And the fruit on this one is smooth skinned, you can see here. And everything likes to eat that fruit. Woodpeckers especially, tortoises if it falls to the ground. Anyway, lots, and wood rats. Anyway, but that's what that looks like. You have to go out at night or late in the evening or early in the morning to catch the flowers open, but the flowers are beautiful. And this is very easy to grow from cuttings. The other one that blooms at night is Selena cereus spinulosus, the moonlight cactus. And this is arguably a native here. We don't, there's an old report of it being found near the mouth of the Rio Grande. And we've never seen it, ones that we think are natural populations otherwise, since then. Some people will tell us that, Bill McWhorter, but we've never known for sure. And but these are commonly grown around people's homes and things because, well, way back, people would, every time they'd go over to Mexico, they'd always bring back a cutting of whatever they thought was interesting. And the flower, you can see the flower, how beautiful it is. This blooms at night, moonlight cactus. Selena, who in Greek mythology was what? What was Selena in? Goddess of the moon, that's right. And so they named it Selena cereus spinulosus. Now, the fruit is, this is an example of the fruit that we took this was on John and Audrey Martin's ranch. They have a big colony hanging down from their trees. Jan has a lot of this growing at her house. There's other populations. I had somebody call me from San Antonio, I think, that wanted me to send him cuttings of Selena cereus from wild populations, and I told him, well, we don't have them. Well, then he was arguing with me. He said, oh, you know, he has a friend or somebody in Edinburgh, I think, and it grows there. And I said, well, it grows there, yes, because somebody planted it at some point. But anyway, it's beautiful. It's worth growing. This is what this is another night blooming cereus that has been forever a problem with us trying to get identified. Back in the 80s, I don't know, there's very few of us that remember Joe Eidecker. But this species was all in the Valley Nature Center here, growing up all through the branches of mesquites. Beautiful. And we knew it wasn't our Acanthocereus, then it was Pentagonus, the barbed wire cactus, but we couldn't find out. We didn't have internet sources or iNaturalist sources or any of that then. And so he sent specimens of it off to Lyman Benson, who was very well known, and he was the authority on the cacti of the United States, and he was in Arizona. Wrote a big book on the cacti of the United States, and wrote a book on the cacti of Arizona, one on California. Anyway, it was a big deal in cactus. Anyway, sent it to him. He responded back. He said, "It's Acanthocereus pentagonus." And we knew it wasn't. Anyway, found out now it's Harrisia bonplandii. And this is John Brush's photo. This grows a lot at Quinta Mazatlan, besides here, and other places too. We've seen a lot of it. And it's been spread around by people wanting native cactus because they think this is night bloom, or Acanthocereus tetragonus now. But anyway, but it's not, and it's different. Now, one of the ways you can tell it apart easily if it's fruiting is it's got these flattened tubercles on its fruit. And it goes by on the internet, I see it's using this common name, giant red dragon apple cactus. But I like this one that I found somewhere, a strangler prickly apple, because it does crawl up and into the trees and it grows thickly. But anyway, it is beautiful to go out at night and see this in full bloom. Woohoo! There we go. We're all finished. That'll teach you and invite me to give a program. Anyway. One thing I need to bring up about this book, we got notice today that Bert Wessling sent me an email from someone else, and he called A&M Press asking about the book because it wasn't available. Well, A&M Press told him that it was in press as they're redoing, or not redoing, but reprinting this. And so it will be out shortly. It's the same, it's going to be the same book, the same mistakes in it, the old taxonomy, and so, but at least, you know, it's a place to start. So anyway, so we hope that happens. Al and I were talking about it, and Christina as well, and we're thinking about making putting out a supplement to go with it, so you get to buy 2 books at once. But anyway, and to update everything, fix the errors, add more species, that sort of thing. Anyway, we'll see. Anyway, thank you very much. Is there, I'm sorry? Oh! I'm sorry, I thought that was the last. Well, anyway, look for your name up here because I think we mentioned most everybody here, except for Christina Mile didn't put any of her. She had a couple of photos, I think, and so anyway, yes. All right. Any questions? Yes, that one. Yours is pink.
I mean, it's got a pinkish tinge, where that one's like almost white or yellow.
Wow. I have heard the fruits are also reddish in some individuals instead of that yellowish golden in theirs. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Yes?
So how many species
I don't know. No, they're all in the book. You can do 1, 2, 3. I don't know. 2011 was when it came out. We put it together 2 years before that, and it was in press, going back and forth with A&M Press trying to get them on track with it for 2 years. And anyway. Anything else? Yes.
On the prickly pear, that white fungus with the cochineal insect.
Yeah,
is
that's an
that-
insect. It's not a fungus.
Oh, the white stuff?
The white stuff is the coating that the insect makes around itself to protect itself, because it's so soft and thin-skinned that it would be most vulnerable to anything.
But does that hurt the plant at all?
Yes, very much so. I don't know about down here if it'll kill things, because we've got natural predators, but we,
It will take down a huge individual. It can cut it a big clump in half, but it never kills it completely. And some of the pads will go through this process where they look like they're wilting. They just get lighter and lighter to this yucky, like mustard yellow, and then they fall off. But where that's happened, those individuals are still alive. When it's a smaller individual, they're still growing. It doesn't completely wipe it out. Because I thought, oh, good, biocontrol, that'll save my hand of the machete. But no, it doesn't completely wipe out some of the areas, because I wanted to open up areas for underplantings and to let other stuff come back.
We have a good one.
It won't kill it. I haven't seen it kill it, 'cause I actually.
the USDA from South Africa, not USDA from South Africa, but anyway, the South USDA is working with South Africa, and they had some of their biologists come here, and I took them out in the field to collect populations of our cochineal we have in this area. They have cochineal introduced because puncha is a pest in Africa, and they want to get rid of it. And so they're looking for something that can tolerate the hotter conditions. So they came to South Texas to get that strain of cochineal. And so we did that, and it was supposedly successful, and they're seeing a reduction in the numbers in the areas where they've released it. Anyway, anything else? There's a whole book written about cochineal. I think it's called The Color Red. I gave a copy to a friend of mine, he's now dead, Bill McWhorter, and I asked him about it. Well, what do you think? He said, well, it was I learned more about cochineal than I ever wanted to know. So, but if you want to look up more about it in detail, it's there. Okay, anything else? Oh, we've got some beautifully grown plants over here. There's some herbaceous things, chili pequins. Oh, and there's Selena cereus spinulosus available. The twisted ribs, these are gorgeous plants. And
And those are grown by Catarina Miranda.
Catarina Miranda, okay.
Plant propagation grant.
The cactuses are Aaron's. Okay, all right. I thought so because I bought some from him earlier. And also, that red prickly pear that I showed you, that's what's in those bags over there. So if you want that beautiful red, those are the very same. And you can plant those pads in the ground, and they'll bloom, and they'll be a showstopper in your yard. Okay. Y'all want to get up and move around? I'm sure I've killed you.